These are times that try men's souls. The World Bank has condemned the continued spending of resources on petrol subsidy, which could hit the 3 trillion naira mark by year's end. And so the World Bank country director for Nigeria, Shabam Choudhury, I hope I got that right, said the government could channel the money spent on subsidy to primary health care, basic education, and rural road repair. According to the World Bank, the time to remove the controversial subsidy is now. This is a sound reasoning, if you ask me, GKB.
Yeah, we've been saying this for 30 years, since the 1986. Remember, the SAP.
SAP, yeah, 1986.
That's what they called it. The government should remove itself from subsidizing anything. Meanwhile, in most countries, there's a social contract between the government and the governed. There's really nowhere in this world that you have total unadulterated capitalism. No, not in the UK, not in the US. There will always be some sort of subsidy. In the US, the food prices are controlled. It's such a matter to ensure that there will not be riots on the streets. You understand what I'm saying? So I agree that we need to create some sort of elements to get out of this stuff, but cannot be total. Because the problem we run into, we are still suffering from today, is that haphazard implementation of the SAP policies of 1986.
And so, Asokwa, understanding the politics of SAP is my concern here. Remember that today's DG of World Trade Organization, Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, wrote a book, Fighting Corruption is Dangerous. And she cited subsidy contractors, subsidy regime boys, threatening her, kidnapping the mother, asking her to resign from government. So this subsidy thing is not too many people know.
No, of course it's a big scam, you know, and thank God it's coming from somewhere outside, you know, giving us this humble advice, because we've been saying every year subsidy, petrol subsidy, because not even food subsidy, you know, petrol subsidy. We have been making some few people billionaires from this petrol subsidy.
Obnoxiously rich.
And if you see some of them, you'll be amazed, you know. And even when, in quote, they try to even say, oh, there were some petrol thieves that they took to court. Afterwards, we didn't even hear anything again, you know. So now this is a good advice for us. Instead of channeling monies into what we call petrol subsidy, let's give ourselves some time. I think even the Ministry of Finance has said, okay, by the second quarter, it should be out. Deregulation, that is when deregulation will come. But it is better they start sensitizing Nigerians ahead, so that by the time deregulation comes, people will not say, oh, why are you selling petrol for 300? Why are you selling petrol for 400?
It's because, like, you know, so I'm sorry to cut you. Just like you said, it's because we refuse to obey the market laws that we ourselves put in place. There is no way on this gospel.
Sometimes they are called market forces.
Yeah, but the laws that are guiding.
There are laws.
Which to me are like evil forces.
No, but you and I know that if you want to sell petrol in Lagos at 150, it will be nearly impossible to sell at 150 at Maiduguri, knowing the costs that will come over it. And the earlier you come to that realization, the better. But you don't have a uniform anything. It's this problem of uniformity that is killing.
Because the thing is, government is also part and parcel of the industry. So if you are saying you want to allow market forces to, you know, to determine price, government should not regulate.
Allow the market
to determine
the market
to determine the price,
because it can,
you know. So if that is done, people can even say, okay, fine, I want to. You and I can decide, okay, let's go and take this petrol outside and sell based on how much that we will make profit from, and that is where the problem is. So now, even with the signing of the bill that the PIA that we have, we should be able to see how the regulation can even come in place.
Okay, then this is the time to invite a gentleman an economist to join us. Nnemeka Obiareri is a guest we think should share the platform with us, and why not? Obiareri, how do you do, sir?
Very fine, my brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how much of the politics of subsidy do you understand? Can you share with us?
To be honest with you, everything about subsidy in Nigeria from 1999 till now has been a game played by the government at the center, using NNPC and the Petroleum Ministry as their sleaze conduit pipe to play games. Let me tell you, Nigeria has no business continually subsidizing for petroleum products. We are the only country in the whole of West Africa that is still engaged and hooked up to these Ponzi games that is only enriching the few and impoverishing the majority. It's not politics. It's simply a game of what I call a game of elitist gangsters. People who are privileged to be in a position of power, they lack the political will to do the right changes that will empower the majority. I will give you an example. In 2016, I want us to understand one of the reasons why Nigerians voted for the APC government was what happened in 2010, 2011, 2012, and the offshoot of the revelations of the House of Representatives Committee that unraveled monumental fraud in the subsidy racketing and the marketeering in the oil and gas sector. Nigerians were outraged. They took to the streets and they sacked the Jonathan government and brought in the Buhari government, who of course told them that was not like subsidy, that they will make away with all these things. In 2016, we had a golden opportunity of doing away with this cancer called subsidy. Kachukwu Ibeh was the then petroleum minister, Minister for State for Petroleum, and then GMD of NNPC. And in fact, he was the one who told us that the true consumption of petroleum products in Nigeria every day was about 32 million liters a day. And that the 52 million liters that we are banded under the Deziani era, we are fraught with fraud. 30% of what they claim to have imported, we are not imported. As at that time, the market has already crashed and the oil was selling in a way that we are not paying subsidy. That was a time we pleaded, some of us wrote articles then, begging them to let go and to deregulate the market and make it open for free entry of technically capable and deep-pocketed investors to come into Nigeria. But of course, they did not want to let go the goose that lays the golden egg, because they had an eye to 2019, because NNPC they normally use that ministry to raise monies for the kind of game they do during elections. South Africa do not produce 1/10 of the kind of crude oil that we produce. South Africa does not have the consumption capacity we have in terms of the white petroleum product. South Africa has in South Africa 540,000 barrels per day capacity refineries built by Total, built by Shell, built by Chevron. They don't have any in Nigeria. Why? Because we do not, and we have refused to deregulate our market, to make it transparent, free of manipulations. In 2016, they told us that our consumption was like 2 million liters, and which is true, because that number tallies with the numbers produced by United States Energy and Resources Agency and other reputable global agencies. But I want to tell you what happened. In 2016, when they brought him late Mike Antibaru, they had an eye for 2019, and they started playing games. From 32 million barrels liters a day consumption, they moved it to 60. From 60, as of today, they tell us that they are importing and distributing 102 million liters a day in Nigeria, which is a lie. And when you ask them, they will tell you that it is being smuggled. Let me tell you, between Cameroon, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Benin Republic, and Togo, the contiguous bordering nations, the consumption of PMS a day in Cameroon, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Togo, and Benin Republic is less than 9 million liters a day. If you add 9 million liters to the confirmed consumption, PPRA have their records. DEPR told us in February 2020 that our daily consumption was 32 million liters a day. If you add 9 million to it, it is 41 million liters. Where did we take the remaining 60 million liters to?
Yeah,
When the consumption in the neighboring countries is about 8 million.
That's what I meant by the politics of subsidy, which many of us don't understand. But Jide, I know that we can't subsidize your thoughts on this subject matter.
Yeah, I've always demanded that we put an end to the subsidy regime, because in my view, it is profiting a few Nigerians at the expense of the rest of us. So we have to do something about it. After all, the president once said, I'm quoting him now, he said, who is subsidizing who? So we've got to do something. A few individuals are making money off this subsidy. That has been proven over the years and is still on. So why don't we just simply take the advice of this World Bank country director and do the right thing? States have not got the money to provide roads for people. I'm in Lokoja. I can see the Ganaja Road that the federal government, that is owned by the federal government, is in such a decrepit state. There are road projects that have been awarded as far back as 2006 in Kogi State by the federal government that remain the way they were. They've not been fixed. We will never find enough money to fix critical infrastructure where we continue to fritter money on subsidy that merely enriches a few. If we are saying that so much petroleum product goes to our borders, gets smuggled across our borders, what are we doing about it? It means that we have to make it unprofitable for people to smuggle. People will smuggle when they can see that the price at which you sell it is way lower than the price at which it is sold by our neighbors. And that's why we have to do something. We just must be prepared to bite the bullet. We'll be able to free some scarce foreign exchange and some money for our governments to be able to spend on health, especially, and education. As for the road projects, we need to do a lot more of what's it called? Build, operate, and transfer. You know, get the private sector to intervene in providing critical infrastructure through some level of partnership with the government. We can't keep awarding contracts every week when some of these projects can actually be undertaken by the private sector. We are beginning to do that now. At least we are seeing the likes of Dangote, Globalcom get tax holidays in exchange for fixing some critical road projects. So we need to do that. I believe that the subsidy regime should actually even end immediately. Waiting till the end of June, as the finance minister told us, is unnecessary. We have been asking for this to be done.
Yeah.
Now, I agree that even our consumption figure is not believable in my view, because I believe there was greater prosperity in the years, leading to 2015. Yet we didn't have this kind of consumption level. So how does one explain that? The higher the consumption level, the higher the subsidy bill. So we've got to do something about it.
Yeah. Nemeka, let me come back to you. So as you and I sit here, tomorrow, if the government announces officially it has stopped the subsidy regime, what will happen?
If Nigeria today announces that they will remove the subsidy regime, not just removing it, but totally deregulating the downstream oil and gas sector, there's going to be, first of all, initial bedlam, not like we had in 2012. Of course, what happened in 2012 was that they removed subsidy at the time people were going to travel for Christmas. And of course, you know the utile period is a time most people travel around, so there was so much bedlam. If government decide to remove subsidy today, not just removing subsidy, fully deregulating the downstream oil and gas sector, and privatizing the loss-making and misappropriating vessels called the refineries and all the downstream oil and gas assets of Nigeria, and divesting their holdings from the JVs with IOCs, from the current above 50% to about 40%, allowing the JVs to become incorporated as Nigerian National NLNG. This country, initially, in the short run, there's going to be bedlam, there's going to be more people are going to protest. But I tell you, in the longer run, Nigerians will benefit for it. One thing that will happen, the import volume that they are telling us is about 103 million liters per day. We come down to its level of 32 to 40 million liters a day, which will reduce the scarce national resources that we waste in this Ponzi scheme. Even Sanusi Lamido Sanusi said it. You notice in Nigeria that once the crude oil prices start going up, that is when those NNPs and perimeters start playing games of increasing the volume, because the more volume that they report, the more subsidies that are siphoned out of Nigeria. Between 2016 till now, we have wasted over 803 billion naira in those loss-making refineries. Something that will have long privatized. Just close your eyes and imagine what will have happened. If Yar'Adua had allowed the privatization of Obasanjo in 2007 to the Blue Star Consortium led by Dangote to have stood then without reversing it, by now we wouldn't have been talking about what we're talking today. So it is right time that we'll do it, and we'll do it now. Anybody asking you that they will do it in June, I tell you, they're only postponing the evil day. I've asked us this question. Ask yourself, Shell is in Nigeria, Chevron is in Nigeria, Total is in Nigeria. South Africa daily consumption is 32 to 35 million liters a day. In South Africa, they have registered about 12.5 million cars. In Nigeria, we have registered 11 million cars. In Lagos alone, it's about 5.2 million cars. And out of those 5.2 million cars in Lagos, which is more than half of the national population, only 200,000 are commercial. The rest are private. One individual parks 5 cars in his house, and we are subsidizing his profligacy. And that is what's happening. Why is Total not having a refinery here? Why is Shell not having a refinery here? Because our market is not deregulated. They see the Ponzi games we play here, and they are tired about Nigeria.
Nemeka, it begs the question of how many cars do you have? I, for one, have 1. GKB has 4. And Asuko has 3.
GKB takes the train now.
Okay, folks, that will be all on subsidy. Well, if you know the right thing to do and not do it, that is the worst form of cowardice, if you ask me.
Yeah.